Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session. So tonight we are here not to revise for NET, but to discuss a paper. Recently, there was UP PSC exam, and today we are here to discuss that paper with you all. Okay, right. So let me share my screen with you all so that you can see the question paper, right? Okay. Yes, I believe all of you can see the paper, question paper that is. Is the paper visible to you all? Let me check. Yeah, it is visible. All right. Great. So let's get started then. Here's the first question. Which among the following facts is not correct regarding John Donne's poem, The Canonization? The correct answer would be C. It is in the form of a debate. No. The canonization is not in the form of any debate, but rather it's a dramatic monologue. So option C is incorrect about this question. Okay. So for this question, option C would be the answer. Option C would be the answer because they have asked what is not correct about this poem here. It's not a debate. It's a dramatic monologue. Right. I hope you all got it. In which poem does W.H. Auden identify suffering and its human position as a key concern of art? It is Musée des Beaux-Arts, which shows the indifference of cosmos to human suffering. It is Musées des Beaux-Arts. Option B would be the correct answer. Okay, Musée des Beaux-Arts. Okay. Who is the father of Alison in the play Look Back in Anger? Very easy question. Colonel Redfern is the father of Alison in the play Look Back in Anger by John Osborne. Okay, next we have this one. Which of the following statements regarding a portrait of the artist as a young man is incorrect? D is incorrect because it is about the life of an upper-class French boy. Absolutely not. Stephen Dadulus is an Irish boy, not French. It is absolutely wrong about this work. So D would be the answer. D would be the answer. Okay. Next. Given below are two statements. One is labeled assertion and other as reason. Assertion in the hero as man of letters, Carlyle defines the man of letter as a prophet who interprets the divine idea of the world. Reason. Carlyle adopts this concept from Fichte's Beverdas Wessender's Girton, which argues that the true scholar must see through the sensual appearance of things to the underlying spiritual reality. Okay, the correct answer would be option D. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Okay, right. The method of teaching a language that involves a systematic presentation of the structures of L2, moving from simple to the more complex in the form of drills that the student had to repeat, is called dash. It is audiolingual method. Audiolingual method. Okay. Which one of the following pairs is not correctly matched? So which has been wrongly matched here? Jayanta Mahapatra wrote a relationship, that's correct. Salman Rushdie wrote Summer in Calcutta, absolutely wrong. Summer in Calcutta is by Kamla Das. Summer in Calcutta is by Kamla Das. So B is the answer. B is the answer. Okay. Which of the following pairs is not correctly matched? Again, here we have some quotes and their or lines and their respective poems. So one quote or one line and poem has been mismatched. Which one is that? It is all is well that ends well. It's not from mending wall. Right. So option A is the answer. Right. And here actually it's a printing mistake. It is not never mere. It's never more. Never more is the refrain in The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Right. Yes. And absolutely this is wrong. All is well that ends well is not from Mending Wall by Frost. Okay. Ernest Hemingway got the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. 1954. Okay. Next. Which of the following statements is not correct about Chinua Achebe? This one. Things Fall Apart was his third novel? No. It was his first novel. First novel. So B would be the answer. It is not correct about Achebe's Things Fall Apart. Okay. It was his first novel, not third. Whose harsh and unsympathetic treatment reuses Jane Eyre to lead to consignment to Lowood Institution? It is Mrs. Reed. Mrs. Reed was her aunt. Mrs. Reed. In chapter 1, Our Women, Vrinda Nabar argues that the Indian women's identity is shaped by a double colonization. What are the two forces she identifies? The internal patriarchy of Indian tradition or caste, and the external influences of Western feminist models. Option A is correct. Next, this one. Yes. 43. Metaphrasing, free translation, transcreation, adaptation. All right. Yes. I will get back to this answer a bit later, okay? Yes, just a second. Let's discuss the rest of the questions now. Which of the following poems of T.S. Eliot is written in the light of his tradition and the individual talent? Question 44. It is The West Land. The West Land by T.S. Eliot is in the tradition, in the style, in the thought pattern of tradition and the individual talent. The West Land is correct. Okay. Next. Question number 45. It is option D. Option D. A3. Terza Rima, Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. Then B1. Spenserian stanza, Byron's Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. Okay. Then C2. Rhyme Royal, Chaucer's Troilus and Cresside. And lastly, D4. Ottawa Rima, Byron's Don Juan. Okay. Right. The given lines have been taken from which of the following poems? We decay like corpses in a churnel. Fear and grief convulse us and consume us day by day. And cold hopes swarm us like worms within our living clay. These lines are from Adone. Adone, the pastoral elegy by Shelley, which mourns the death of John Keats. Adone. All right. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land. Listen, you hear the grating roar. These are lines from, yes, Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach. Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach. The opening scene of T.S. Eliot's play, The Family Reunion, takes place at Dash. I think there is something. Oh, yeah. 48, right? Yeah, 48 would be B. The drawing room after tea and afternoon in late March. There's one B. Drawing room after tea and afternoon in late March. B is correct. What I wanted to say is there is something wrong with the options in the rover, this question. I think many of you have already noticed it, that there is something wrong with the options here. Because based on the statements which have been provided here regarding this play, neither statement is entirely correct. Neither one nor two. Right. So we think that the answer would be neither 1 nor 2. So since both are not correct, so we will go with neither 1 nor 2. Okay. So yeah, I mean, not the, I mean, they have intentionally given it wrong so that you can choose that option, I think. So yeah, we think it will be neither 1 nor 2. All right. In the novel Tess of the Abervilles by Thomas Hardy, to which country Tess's husband Angel Clare had gone to? Brazil. Brazil. Which of the following statements is incorrect? This one is very, very wrong. You all know this. Roland Barthes published his work Course in General Linguistics. Absolutely not. Course in General Linguistics is a work based on the lectures of Ferdinand de Saussure. Roland Barthes has got nothing to do with it. So B would be the answer. Which among the following facts is incorrect about Kamala Das's poem and introduction? This one. It's a very silly option actually. Kamala Das describes in this poem herself as an Indian of a very fair complexion born in Calcutta. No. She says she is very brown, born in Malabar. She's very brown, born in Malabar. So C would be the answer. She never says she is fair and she was born in Calcutta. No. So C would be the answer. Okay, next. Who becomes the victim of ugly social forces in Arundhati Roy's novel, The God of Small Things? It is Velutha. Velutha. Right, yes. Which of the following facts is not correct about Whitman's poem One's Self I Sing? This one. The poem laments the death of American President Lincoln. No, no, no. One's self I sing does not lament anyone's death. So D would be the answer. In the novel Jane Eyre, Rochester is described as a Byronic hero. Byronic hero. The characters Hori Ram, Dhania, and Gobar appear in The Gift of a Cow. The Gift of a Cow. Okay. 57, for Bharat Muni, the main purpose of dramatic performance is to create or enact the rasas. Yes. Without rasa, drama can have no appeal to the spectator. Yes. Yes. So D would be the correct answer. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Who said Shakespeare is above all writers, at least above all modern writers, the poet of nature? Dr. Samuel Johnson said this in his preface to Shakespeare. Dr. Samuel Johnson said this in his preface to Shakespeare. Which one of the following writers does not belong to the Victorian period? Again, very easy. Walter Scott. Walter Scott was a major figure of the Romantic period. He is the father of the historical novels. So Walter Scott does not belong to the Victorian period. Instead, he was a major figure of the Romantic period. Walter Scott. Right. The title of the second part of the Westland is taken from which of the following English dramatist? A Game of Chess. That's the title of the second part. A Game of Chess. It was borrowed from Thomas Middleton. Thomas Middleton. Which of the following is not correct about the rhyme of the ancient mariner? The poem opens with the line, it is a very old ship. No, no, no. That's not the opening line of this poem at all. So B would be the answer. Okay. Consider the following statements with reference to the spectator. The spectator began after 2 months of seizing of the Tatler. Yes. The spectator appeared daily except Sunday and lasted for 555 numbers. D. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Both 1 and 2. D hoga answer. D. Right. Okay. Consider the following statements regarding language variations. In popular usage, the term dialect refers to a form of language that is regarded as substandard, incorrect, or corrupt. But dialect as a technical term in linguistics refers to a distinct form of language. Here, D is the answer, both 1 and 2. Yes. Consider the following statements about Nagamandala. Nagamandala is based on two folk tales Karnad heard from A.K. Ramanujan. Yes, absolutely. The story is that of a young bride who is neglected by her indifferent husband. Yes, absolutely. Both 1 and 2. D. Both 1 and 2. Okay. Yes. Both 1 and 2. In the following lines, what does the image of the great star early drooped primarily show? When lilacs last in the dooryard bloomed, and the great star early drooped in the western sky in the night. What does it mean? Tell me. An extraordinary life ended suddenly, even though nature continues unchanged. B is the answer. Things Fall Apart depicts the lives of the people of the Nigerian village Umofia. Umofia. According to Walter Benjamin, the basic error the translator lies in preserving the state of his own language. Preserving the state of his own language. Which of the following is not a critical thought of Sir Philip Sidney as expressed in his Apology for Poetry? Sidney suggests there have been two kinds of poetic imitations. No. Sidney talked about three kinds of poetic imitations, not two. He talked about three types or three kinds of poetic imitations, not two. So A is the answer. Ferdinand de Saugier's Lectures on General Linguistics, compiled by his colleagues as Course in General Linguistics, was published in the year? Which year? Yes, 1916. 1916. The term negative capability was introduced by John Keats in his letter written in December 1817. Okay. William Wordsworth's poem, Lines Composed a Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey, was written on July 13, 1798. July 13, 1798. In Tennyson's Ulysses, Ulysses describes how he plans to set forth again from Ithaca. Yes. The poem expresses Tennyson's sense of the need of going forward and braving the struggle. Yes. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Right. Yes, so 72. D. In which stanza are sages mentioned in W.B. Yeats's poem Sailing to Byzantium? Stanza 3. Stanza 3. Okay. Whose skull had been unearthed by the gravedigger in Act 5 of Shakespeare's play Hamlet? Court Jester Yorick. Court Jester Yorick. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet lived with their 5 daughters in Longbourn. Longbourn. How many essays were contributed by Addison in the Tatler? 42. 42. Which of the following statements is incorrect about Sarojini Naidu? This one. Her husband was a Tamil named Muthalia Govind. He was not Tamil, he was Telugu. So A is the answer. Okay. The novel A House for Mr. Biswas tells the tragicomic story of the search for independence and identity of A and dash. Indian Brahmin living in Trinidad. Indian Brahmin living in Trinidad. Which one is not correctly matched about the novel Beloved by Toni Morrison? This one. Sethe was not the father. Sethe was the mother. Sethe was the mother, not father. So B would be the answer. Charles Baudelaire's Les Fleurs du Mal is a series of 101 lyrics. 101 lyrics. Which of the following facts is not true regarding Coleridge's concept of imagination? Not true. The denotation and the connotation are detrimental to each other. B is the answer. Okay. Here again, which one has been wrongly matched? This one. The Rhetoric of Fiction. It's not by Nancy Armstrong. It's by Wayne C. Booth. The Rhetoric of Fiction. It's a work by Wayne C. Booth. So A is the answer. Which among the following statements is not correct regarding Edmund Spenser's epithalamion? This one. This is not true. That this poem does not begin with the traditional invocation to the muses. That's not true. That's wrong. Because epithalamion by Spenser, it does begin with the traditional invocation to the muses. So A is the answer. Which of the following is being addressed in the given lines of Wordsworth's ode, Intimations of Immortality? Thou best philosopher, who yet doesn't keep thy heritage, thy eye among the blind, that deaf and silent, riddest the eternal deep, haunted forever by the eternal mind. It is the child. The child. Okay. Ted Hughes' poem Hawk Roosting was based on his boyhood experience of fishing and shooting in his native Yorkshire. Yorkshire. Which of the following is correct chronological order of the parts of the novel Up to the Lighthouse? A. The window, time passes, the lighthouse. Correct. The window, time passes, and the lighthouse. Okay. In Of Studies, Bacon famously categorizes books into three types of consumptions. Some books are to be dash, others to be dash, and some few to be dash and digested. Tested, swallowed, chewed. Tasted, swallowed, chewed. Which of the following novelist described his novel as a comic epic poem in prose? Henry Fielding, Joseph Andrews. Henry Fielding, Joseph Andrews. Which among the following is not true about A.K. Ramanujan's poem A River? The cows have the names Shama and Radha. No, they're called Gopi and Brinda, right? They're called Gopi and Brinda. So A would be the answer. A. They're not called Shama and Radha. They're called Gopi and Brinda. So A is the answer. That's not true. When did Arundhati Roy get the Booker Prize for The God of the Small Things? 1997. 1997. Which of the following is the beginning line of the poem Daddy by Sylvia Plath? You do not do, you do not do. Option A. You do not do, you do not do. Option A. Which of the following is not a character in Things Fall Apart? Eze Ulu. Eze Ulu is not in Things Fall Apart. Eze Ulu. This here, you have wrong options. A Room of One's Own was published in 1929. They have not even given that in the options. So you can challenge this if you want. A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf was first published in 1929. They have not even given that. So yeah. Okay. Now we have this one. 94. This one would be B. A3. Rolled. Emma's Father Peasant. B1. Leon Dupois, a lawyer's clerk. C2. Hippolyte, a stable boy. And Homais is the local pharmacist. Right. Harish Trivedi, in his essay, India, England, France, a post-colonial translation triangle, discusses about the contributions of Munshi Premchand towards enrichment of Indian literature. Which among the following is incorrect about his contribution and creativity? He has translated literature available in English only. This is wrong, and hence it is the answer. A is the answer. Derrida begins his essay, Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences, with the following quotations. We need to interpret interpretations more than to interpret things. The above quotation has been taken from Montaigne. Montaigne. Which among the following facts is not true about Blake's poem, The Lamb? The Lamb. By naming Christ, the speaker says that the maker calls himself a lamb. In the poem directly there is no such statement, so B would be the answer. Now we have this one. You have to match these quotes to the poems. 98. So A would be 4. Music that gentlier on the spirit lies than tired eyelids upon tired eyes. It's from The Lotos Eaters by Tennyson. Then, no, let me taste the whole of it. It's from Prospries by Browning. For what wears out the life of mortal men? This is from The Scholar Gypsy by Matthew Arnold. And lastly, you have D3. The darkness drops again. It's from The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats. All right, yeah. John Webster's The Duchess of Malfi was influenced by Sidney's Arcadia. Sidney's Arcadia. Which of the following statements is not correct about Balpany? B. Corbettio is the play signifies raven. No. Corbettio does not signify raven. So B is the answer. For whom the following lines are written in Charles Dickens's Hard Times? A man of realities, a man of fact and calculations, a man who proceeds upon the principle that 2 and 2 are 4 and nothing over, and who is not to be talked into allowing for anything over. Who is it? It is Thomas Gradgrind. Thomas Gradgrind. William Golding received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1983. 1983. Right. Psycholinguistics can explain how all human beings are capable of learning a language. Okay. Psycholinguistics attempt to answer questions whether the human brain has an inborn language ability in such a way that certain grammatical and semantic patterns are embedded in it. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Right. How many persons have been portrayed in Jayanta Mahapatra's poem Hunger? 3. 3. Who said the following in the play Death of a Salesman? And for a salesman, there is no rock bottom to the life. He don't put a bolt to a nut. He don't tell you the law or give you medicine. He's a man way out there in the blue, riding on a smile and a shoe shine. It was said by Charlie. Charlie. Okay. In which play, Tom Wingfield announces the following at the beginning. The play is memory. Being a memory, it is dimly lighted. It is sentimental. It is not realistic. It is what? The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams. The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams. With whom the gorilla and the Superman have been compared in Derek Walcott's A Far Cry from Africa. Natives, white men. Natives, white men. Who made the following statement? One cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well. It's a line from Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. It's from Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. Okay. Who translated Vijay Tendulkar's Marathi play Shantata Court Chalu Hai into English as Silence, the Court is in Session? It was translated by Priya Adarkar. Priya Adarkar. Who says that the play of linguistic science, who says that the play of linguistic meanings is undecidable. Derrida. Derrida. It is Derrida. Euphony is a term applied to language which strikes the ear as smooth, pleasant, and musical. Yes. Cacophony is a term applied to language which is perceived as harsh, rough, and unmusical. Yes. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Next, we have this one. There are two prose tales, Chaucer's own, that is, Tale of Melibœus, and the Parson's Tale in the Canterbury Tales. Yes. Nearly all the other tales are composed in the decasyllabic or heroic couplet. Absolutely. So D would be the correct answer. Both 1 and 2 are correct here about Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Who speaks the following line in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot? Nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes. It's awful. It is said by Estragon. Estragon. Which of the following is not a chapter in the novel The Rainbow? Wading at the marsh. There is no chapter called Wading at the Marsh in The Rainbow. So D is the answer. Which one of the following is not correct about Raja Rao's publications? Kanthapura. Kanthapura was published in 1938, not 1925. So C is the answer. Kanthapura was published in 1938. Okay. Who is regarded to be grand, ungodly, godlike man in Herman Melville's Moby Dick? Captain Ahab. Captain Ahab. Virginia Woolf's central claim in her work, The Room of One's Own, is that a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. C is the answer. Okay. Atwood's The Blind Assassin got the Booker Prize in which year? It is the year 2000. 2000. G.B. Shaw's family belonged to what? Irish Protestant gentry. Irish Protestant gentry. T.S. Eliot's The Westland has long been considered as an archetypal text of literary modernism. Literary modernism, right? Literary modernism. Literary modernism. So that's the end. So we have discussed all the questions. And do let us know in the comments what you think of it. Okay. So yes, I know many of you have done really, really well. I know that. And stay strong, stay calm. You're going to crack this exam. All right. The questions were quite easy, I felt. So don't worry at all. You have done just great and you are going to crack this. And all of you are going to be just doing fine. Right? Yes. So that's all for tonight from our side. And I will see you all again tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. with Netka Revision. Okay.